Well, praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, HaKadosh. Double honor to the apostle and elders, a great millstone that taught me the truth. Peace and salutation to the Akim out there pushing the truth in all sincerity, which they like to do so. Salutation to the hopeful elect that believe in the truth of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, that scattered on the four corners of the earth. Shalom. This is a response video to Brother Ahmanwan Ibad's video that he did on the movie They Live. I'm going to post his video in the description section of this video, but this movie that he did, his movie that he did his video on is very spiritual. Over the weekend, which is through the spirit, I viewed this video, and I came across this video today, and I was like, yo, that's the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Through the spirit he has you view certain things, and I just watched this movie over the weekend, and so be it that this brother did a video on it, and I was like, yo, this video is very spiritual. This movie came out in 1988, and in the opening scenes, it starts out with this Jake, talking to the people, you know what I'm saying, and he's warning them like, yo, like, telling them to wake up because, there's evil amongst them, and then there's evil people, that's controlling their minds, which is, spiritual, because, the Lord has raised up his prophets of old now to go out in the highways and byways and preach the gospel, the true gospel of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, to his nation, to the elect, and to the other nations, to let them know about their downfall, but, mainly to the elect of the nation of Israel, to wake up out of their deep sleep and come into his truth, and he reveals, the truth for what it truly is, and because they've been brainwashed, by society, to take upon the ways, of the heathens, but the Lord has, now raised his men up, to preach his true gospel. He's gathering his elect and waking them up, because we know we're at the end of Esau, Edom, and his rule. But I'm play this video of that explains the movie, but before I do that, I'm gonna get this Psalm 64:8, which reads, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away. Yeah, so the Lord has made the tongues of Esau, Edom to fall amongst themselves, you know what I'm saying? So even this movie reveals their secrets, their dark secrets that they have, that the elites rule the world, you know what I'm saying? And the name of the director is John Carpenter, and he reveals, some of their secrets in this movie. Most people, they think they think it's just a movie, but it's the Lord, putting the spirit upon them. The Lord incorruptible spirit is in all things, to reveal, the son of perdition for who he truly is. But I'm gonna play this video, and it gives you the in-depth of what the storyline is in the movie or whatnot. But when you get a chance, I'm gonna put this video also in the description box. But when you get a chance, you definitely got to take a check this movie out, because it's very spiritual. But I'm gonna play the video clip right quick.
John Carpenter's 1988 opus They Live is a scathing indictment of capitalism and the culture of greed masquerading as a B-movie about invading aliens. It stars professional wrestler Rowdy Roddy Piper as a homeless laborer whose world is turned upside down when he finds a box of special sunglasses that allow the wearer to see the truth about subliminal messaging, forcing humanity to obey. It's one of Carpenter's greatest films, but grab a pair of Hoffman lenses for yourself to see the truth that even hardcore fans may not know about They Live. H.P. Lovecraft, Ray Nelson, and Richard Armitage. Sharp-eyed viewers may have noticed that the screenplay is credited to Frank Armitage, which happens to be the same name as Keith David's character. This, of course, is a pseudonym. Carpenter wrote the screenplay but felt it was strong enough of a collaborative effort with his future wife Sandy King and Roddy Piper as well that he didn't take sole credit. Instead, he lifted the name Armitage from the Dunwich Horror, a classic story by H.P. Lovecraft, whose work often involved characters being driven mad by discovering hidden truths. Lovecraft wasn't the direct inspiration for They Live though. Instead, Carpenter drew from another short story, Ray Nelson's 8 O'Clock in the Morning, published in 1963 and turned into a comic book in 1986. It features a character named Nada who awakens to the fact that the world is secretly being run by snake-like aliens who control humanity's thoughts.
See, as you see in the video clip, the movie was inspired by the Ray Nelson, who wrote this 8 O'Clock in the Morning in 1963, which revealed, that the world were overtaken or ran by, these aliens that were reptiles or snakes, you know what I'm saying? So that goes back into Esau Edom, or the serpent that was in the garden with Eve, who Esau Edom is a descendant of, because the serpent, we know, came into Eve and deceived Eve, which gave her, forbidden knowledge, that led them to go off because they took upon the ways of the other nations, you know what I'm saying? Because the Lord had gave them laws and orders to follow, and they was, as a nation, they was above all other nations, But, when the serpent deceived Eve, she started taking upon the ways and she convinced Adam to do the same. That's when we fell out of great grace with the Lord, But, that spiritual right there in itself, being that, he says the snake aliens taking over and, deceiving the world, which is, the serpent, which is this, Esau Edom in itself, because he descends, through the serpent, through Cain to Esau, But I'm gonna let the video continue.
And actions. While many of the story's elements would later make it to the screen, Carpenter wisely added a few tweaks to the plot and changed a few elements to make it more believable. Or at least as believable as a story about magic sunglasses that let you see aliens can be.
I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
The Man with No Name. Like the lead character of Nelson's short story, Roddy Piper's character is called Nada because he is meant to be a blank slate everyman. He is given very little backstory and is never referred to by his name in the film even once, with Nada only appearing in the credits. In the years since though, Carpenter has let it slip that the character's first name is John, and that he indeed has an extensive backstory, even if the filmmaker himself doesn't know what it is.
I've had a rough couple of days.
In an interview, Carpenter revealed that only one man knew Nada's full origin story, Roddy Piper. Before filming, Carpenter asked Piper to come up with a backstory on his own, and further told him to never share what it was with the director, to lend his character more authenticity. True to his word, Piper never went on the record before his untimely death in 2015, meaning that Nada will always be what Carpenter intended, a mystery to everyone, even the man who wrote and directed the movie. The most brutal brawl in cinema history. And nearly 6 minutes long, the iconic alleyway fight between Nada and Frank is one of the most celebrated brawls in film history. It's been endlessly referenced, quoted, and parodied, and it's inevitably brought up as a point of comparison every time new contender for the best fight scene of all time emerges.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, man.
With the idea of creating a fight scene that would be completely unique in films, Carpenter turned to stunt coordinator Jeff Amada, whose work can be seen in action movies like Lethal Weapon, The Bourne Ultimatum, and Furious 7, and to Piper, drawing on his experience as a professional wrestler. The result speaks for itself, but David complimented Piper on helping to make the film more realistic, while Piper's assessment of David makes it clear that he's no slouch either.
This guy hits like a mule.
He's all out of bubblegum. Soon after Nada's unpleasant discovery about the world around him, he has a scuffle with a pair of cops and manages to get away with one of their shotguns by ducking into a building, which turns out to be a bank. As the patrons react to Nada with his shades and shotgun, he utters one of the all-time classic badass lines in cinema history.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
The line has been embedded in pop culture ever since, but it wasn't Carpenter's creation, it came directly from Piper. According to Carpenter, Piper carried a book full of one-liners that he'd used in his wrestling promos, and while he was writing the script, Carpenter lifted the best one for the scene. It's just a shame he never got to use that one on Hulk Hogan. Sticking it to Reagan. Carpenter's choice to make his heroes down on their luck homeless men up against alien invaders who all seem to be rich yuppies and, more frighteningly, politicians, underlines the film's ultimate message, which should be even clearer today than it was 30 years ago. Carpenter has gone as far as calling it a documentary about the exploitation of the poor by the upper class and an indictment of the rampant economic inequality that makes it possible, and even filmed the opening in an actual homeless settlement, paying the residents as extras. If Carpenter intended They Live to be a ballistic missile lobbed at 80s materialism and excess, he's never been shy about who he saw as the ultimate symbol of that excess: President Ronald Reagan. Speaking with Starlog around the time of the film's release, Carpenter was clear on this point, calling the president and his cabinet a bunch of crooks. In the years since, Carpenter has been happy to elaborate on his contempt for Reagan whenever given the opportunity. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times in 2013, Carpenter said that he'd decided I had to make a statement, and that's They Live, citing the literal and figurative way that it was giving the finger to Reagan when nobody else would.
That's the kingdom divided, man. But also, there's another movie that came out in the 80s, and it's called Society. When you guys get a chance, you should check this movie out too, because it also deals with the social elites, you know what I'm saying, and how they have they have orgies or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? They have sexual orgies and they make sacrifice, how they prey on the lesser individuals in society, and they make sacrifice to these gods, and they use the poor of society, and they sacrifice them, you know what I'm saying, and they go have this sexual orgy, to commemorate their allegiance, to Satan, pretty much, you know what I'm saying. So this movie clip, reveals a lot, because these are things that they do, as being the wicked. I guess I'll play a little bit of the clip here.
For Bill Whitney,
I've never been paranoid.
fear plays a large part in family life.
I feel like something's gonna happen. And if I scratch the surface, there'll be something terrible underneath.
He's afraid his sister
Could you zip me up, Billy?
is not what she seems.
God, Bill, what's the matter with you?
He thinks his friends are out to get him.
Make waves, Whitney. You're gonna drown.
People are what they are. Now you have to learn to accept that.
He's about to find out the truth
Why are you guys doing this to me, huh?
What, you've been living with these people all your life and you didn't know anything about this?
is far worse than he could ever imagine.
If you don't follow the rules, Billy, bad things happen.
Didn't you know, Billy boy? The rich have always sucked off low-class scum like you.
Uh-oh, Billy.
Clarissa? Don't be so intense. Now, some people make the rules and some people follow the rules. It's a question of what you're born to.
You never were one of us.
You know, you really deserve what's going to happen to you. I don't think so. Wait.
Can't you see they're setting you up for something?
You know how I hate to give you drugs. You're officially dead.
Don't go home, Billy.
No.
Bill Whitney is about to become one
Showtime, Billy!
with society.
Who are you? Let me give you a hand, Bill.
In Beverly Hills, what you fear is only the beginning.
Anything for society.
And that's the trailer for that movie. But when you get a chance, it's kind of wacky, but you get the drift of what it is that Esau Edom does, and how you make sacrifices, and they have these sex orgies and commit incest too, because they slept with his parents slept with their daughter as well, But anyway, when you get a chance, just check out this movie, society and they live, and also take a look at Brother Ahmanwan Ibad's video when you get a chance. So just want to say, Shalom.